Breaking news! Let's go Dolphins! Imagine this, a team with a powerful offense, 2 playoff appearances in 4 years, and yet, we're still stagnating. The question no one within the organization wants to answer is echoing louder than ever. Is Mike McDaniel the brilliant coach they promised us, or just another name on the long list of almost in Miami? Because while the media insists on the narrative that his job is secure until 2026, fans are starting to see the cracks, and they're not small. But first, hit the like button if you're a die-hard Dolphins fan and comment below, *Go Dolphins. We can make it to the Super Bowl, *, because if you're watching this, it's because you care about this team as much as I do. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. Now, here's what we're hearing, and it's not pretty. The talk surrounding Mike McDaniel's future with the Miami Dolphins has reached a fever pitch. Despite national reports suggesting he could be back as head coach in 2026, fans are baffled. Why? Because the evidence doesn't add up. In 4 seasons under McDaniel, the Dolphins have reached the playoffs twice and missed them twice, and even in the years they made it, they completely collapsed late in the season. These weren't just routine losses. They choked away the AFC East title both times and entered the postseason flat, setting themselves up for early exits. McDaniel's Achilles heel has become painfully clear, his inability to make critical halftime adjustments and lead this team in the second half, especially in the third quarter. Just take a look at the brutal stats. Coming into this past game, the Dolphins were ranked 30th in third quarter point differential, 31st in yardage differential, having been outgained by 723 yards. That's not a typo. 723 yards in just the third quarter across the season. And then came the latest meltdown. Miami got demolished 21-0 in the third quarter alone, adding another 90 yards to that lopsided stat line. That brings their season total in the third quarter to an NFL worst 27 points, tied only with the Las Vegas Raiders. And this isn't an isolated issue. This is becoming the identity of McDaniel's Dolphins. Look at the trends. 14-0 in the third quarter against the Chargers. A must-win game in Pittsburgh. Another 14-0 third quarter beatdown. And this latest disaster? 21-0. Time and again, when it matters most, this team is getting outplayed, outcoached, and flat-out humiliated. And who's responsible for that? The head coach. These aren't flukes. They are patterns, dangerous ones, and they point to a fundamental flaw in the coaching philosophy. McDaniel was even asked directly after the game whether he had been assured of his job security for next season, and his answer was textbook deflection. You have to focus on the task at hand and not spend time thinking about the job I already have. That's fine in theory, but if you're a coach fighting for your job, shouldn't your task at hand be fixing the complete collapse that happens every week after halftime? Now let's talk decision-making. One of the most damning moments came late in the second quarter of the most recent game. The Dolphins were down 17-14 but driving with a chance to take control before halftime. What does McDaniel call on 3rd and 1 from the Bengals' 40-yard line? A halfback toss. They lost 3 yards. A baffling call, considering the offensive line had been struggling all day and inside runs weren't producing. But even then, a toss in that moment? Against a defense that had already proven disruptive? It was a coaching decision that made no sense, and it cost them. McDaniel loyalists might argue that the team fights hard for him, but the second half collapse says otherwise. Against the Bengals, the Dolphins' defense looked like it quit. Players looked defeated. Body language said it all. This wasn't just a bad performance, it was a team that gave up at home, which in the NFL is absolutely a fireable offense, especially for a coach already on the hot seat. And now we turn to the quarterback situation. Rookie Quinn Ewers got the start, and while McDaniel seems to be rolling with him moving forward, his performance raises more questions. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't exactly encouraging either. Yes, he showed poise in the pocket, didn't seem rattled, and had a few throws that Tua Tagovailoa couldn't make. But he also held the ball too long and threw a crucial third-quarter interception. Miami's run game was non-existent outside of one 48-yard touchdown run, and the offensive line failed to establish dominance. But here's the deal, even if you're ready to give Quinn Ewers a pass for being a rookie, what does that say about McDaniel's system? What does it say that the team's identity falls apart without Tua, and McDaniel can't scheme effectively with a new quarterback under center? This was the Las Vegas Raiders we're talking about, a team with the worst defense in the NFL, and Miami still couldn't find answers. Because here's the reality, Dolphins fans, if this coaching trend continues, 2026 isn't just going to be another letdown, it could be a complete disaster. The whispers about next season aren't optimistic. In fact, there are people close to the situation who believe Miami is more likely to finish as the worst team in the NFL next year than to have a winning record under McDaniel. That's a terrifying projection for a team with this much offensive talent. And if that turns out to be even remotely true, the Dolphins would be wasting another year of a championship-caliber core, wasting time, money, and the patience of a fan base that's already reaching its breaking point. Let's talk about the standards here. Mediocrity is not supposed to be acceptable in Miami. But right now, that's exactly what the Dolphins are getting and tolerating. McDaniel's style might be charming to some. His media sessions are lighthearted, and he carries a youthful energy. But none of that matters when the results on the field scream average. Worse than average, honestly. Because when you look across the league at other playoff contenders, they make the halftime adjustments, they find ways to win tough games, they don't fall apart in the most important months of the season. The Dolphins do, over and over again, under this regime. What stings even more is that Mcdaniel has been given resources. He's had weapons. He's had an explosive backfield. He's had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The addition of Darren Waller should have made them even more dynamic. And now, with a rookie like Quinn Ewers showing flashes, there was a real chance to say, hey, we're building something. But it's hard to feel like that foundation is secure when the coaching staff continuously puts the team in losing positions with predictable second-half collapses and highly questionable decision-making. And then there's the defense, which also seemed to pack it in during the second half. Say what you want about talent, but effort and energy are coach-driven. When a defense comes out of the tunnel flat and gives up drive after drive, that's not just on the players. That's a reflection of the voice leading the locker room. And if Mike McDaniel can't hold that locker room together in December, what makes anyone think he'll be the guy to take them to a Super Bowl in January? Let's also not ignore the play-calling inconsistencies. Throughout the season, McDaniel has shown a tendency to overthink key downs, opting for cute, unconventional plays in moments that demand straight-up football. Fans watched in disbelief as he called plays like halfback tosses on 3rd and short, even when the offensive line was struggling. That's not innovation, that's mismanagement. And while creativity is great when it works, when it backfires in key moments, it's a liability. These are the decisions that get you beat in close games. And right now, they're the difference between Miami making noise in the playoffs or being sent home quietly. On top of all this, there's still no clarity about Tua Tagovailoa's future. And this looming uncertainty only adds more weight to the coaching decision. If the team is moving on from Tua, and that's not confirmed, but it's a conversation happening, then pairing a young QB like Quinn Ewers with a coach who's proven he can't elevate his team in crucial moments feels like a huge gamble, especially when more experienced, tougher, and more situationally aware coaching options could be available. Names like Rob Saleh, Vance Joseph, even rising college minds like Marcus Freeman or Kurt Signetti are being tossed around in fan circles. And while none of them are guaranteed fixes, the fact that so many Dolphins fans are actively discussing replacements says everything. The trust in McDaniel is fading fast. And to be honest, it's hard to argue with him. This isn't about one bad game. It's about a pattern of letdowns that's defined McDaniel's tenure. The numbers are ugly. The third quarter stats are damning. The lack of road wins against playoff caliber opponents is a red flag. The way the team fades in December, that's the death sentence for any franchise trying to win in January. So now we come to the crossroads. The Dolphins can either hold on to the hope that Mike McDaniel will somehow transform into an elite head coach overnight, or they can make the hard decision now, while there's still time to reset this franchise and build something sustainable. But that brings us back to you, the fans. You've seen it all. You've ridden the highs and lows of this season. You know what greatness looks like, and you know what mediocrity feels like. So tell me, is Mike McDaniel the guy you trust to lead this team into 2026? Or is it time for the Dolphins to start a new chapter with a fresh vision, new leadership, and a real plan to get to the Super Bowl? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget, if you want more real talk like this, hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and check out the next video on the screen right now. I'll catch you in the next one.